Hi, my name is Rebecca Sharp, and I chose to do the Behavior Rating Inventory of Executive Function. This test is a self-regulatory behavioral assessment that looks at the executive function behaviors that can be seen at home and in the school environment for children between the ages of 5 and 18. Now, there is a different version of this test, known as the preschool version for children under the ages of 5. However, I chose not to delve too deeply into this subject, and as such, I will not be talking about it in my presentation. The Brief 2 looks at the unique behaviors that are typically associated with a person with some sort of disorder on the autism spectrum scale, or another disorder such as ADHD. Now, this person's working memory and their metacognitive skills and or ability are tested within the Brief 2. The Brief 2 is broken down into 3 different forms: the parent form, the teacher form, and the self-student assessment form, which is only completed if the child is over the age of 11. The test is composed of 10 clinical scales: the inhibition scale, the self-monitoring scale, the shift scale, the emotional control scale, the initiation scale, the task completion scale, the working memory scale, the plan and organizing scale, the task monitoring scale, and organization of materials scale. Together, each of these is scored by the parent, the teacher, and the subject themselves. The scores of each of these scales is compiled into a global executive composite score to help to determine whether or not the behaviors that are being exhibited by this child are considered normal. Now, these executive composite scores are often used to assist in determining between the subtypes of ADHD, the inattentive versus the combined. Now, it's helpful to determine whether a child has ADHD or some different disorder, as oftentimes there is overlapping in diagnosing of disorders. The testing manual had many different forms of validity and reliability that it assessed. The one that I brought into question was the test-retest reliability, as I found it in many of my sources. The manual found that test-retest reliability for the parents was about 0.79, for teachers about 0.82, and for the behavioral rating inventory about 0.83, and for that global executive composite score about 0.88. Now, Mahone and others looked at the test-retest reliability, and found relatively similar scores, with the parents coming in at around 0.82, teachers at a 0.88, the behavioral rating inventory about 0.84, and the general global executive composite score around 0.86. Now, this can all be seen in this graph right here. The GCE is right here, and the behavioral rating inventory right here, the teachers right here, and the parents right here. This shows that overall the findings of the manual seem to correlate very strongly with those of other sources that I found. There was a overall positive light when looking at this test specifically in regards to ADHD, although other sources did call for possible further research. The important takeaway points for the Brief 2 is that it is an assessment of executive function behaviors that occur in everyday life for children between the ages of 5 and 18, unless utilizing other versions, as I stated before. The test is a very fast, easy, and efficient test that allows the administrator to determine possible problems with differences areas of functioning by interpreting the results of the behavioral regulation scales and metacognitive scales that I listed before. This test can be used on any child. However, it is most successful when using it on a child with ADHD to determine which of the subtypes of the disorder the child has. Now, this testing is usually done either in the school setting or in a therapy setting of some sort, and there are qualifications to purchase and administer this test. All in all, I really enjoyed learning about this test, and thank you for your time.